Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 18th Whitesburg Unified School District Board meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. Wendy, do we have any public comments on closed session items?
You have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that there are no public comments, we will now recess to closed session. We will reconvene at 6:00 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 18th, 2024 Whitesburg Unified School District Board meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. We have a full agenda this evening. By the way, Happy New Year. It's great to see everyone. It's crazy that I'm saying this and we're 18 days into January already. Amazing, but welcome back. Great to see everybody. We have two special presentations this evening. Mr. D and his students, I think, are around here for the Whitesburg Unified School District Robotics Program. And then we have a second presentation on our 2022-23 audit. I also want to provide a quick update with regards to the board. As you notice, we're missing a board member, and I wanted to share a little bit about that process. So I wanted to thank the community. First of all, we received 11 applicants for the board seat. So quite a bit of interest, which is great to see. Our first set of interviews is scheduled for this Monday. And looking forward to having a new colleague sit up here on the dais with us. So with that, I guess we'll get started with the board meeting. Wendy, would you please take roll call?
Ms. Kathy? Present. Mr. Banuelos?
Present.
Dr. Goldman?
Present.
Mr. Martinez?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. And Kiana, would you do us?
Happily, yeah.
Thank you.
Right hand over your hearts. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have any action items to report on closed section this evening. Next item is, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thanks,
Second.
Rebecca. Thank you, Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Wendy, do we have any public comments on non-agenda items?
Does anyone have any public comments? Do not have any public comments.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that there's no public comments, it's now time for me to turn it over to Blake for our special presentations.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I am going to introduce Mr. D and the robotics team. I just want to, oh, there you are in the back. Sorry, Andy. Andy's in the back. I just want to say that, leadership has a lot to do with why a program is successful. And it's, when you look at a program that Andy leads, whether it be PLTW or now in our elementary robotics program, it's really because of the time, effort, dedication. A lot of people, but Andy as a leader really has helped make this work. And the team that you built and just a lot of energy behind bringing robotics and bringing STEM to our schools is, I mean, I'd say unmatched. And so thank you for that. I'm really excited to hear an update. And I think I see lots of people in the crowd who have been contributors to this. So great to see that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Turn the mic up.
Okay. It's on. Okay, great. Superintendent Silvers, board president, board members, Dr. Harback, Dr. Hastings, staff and community, thank you so much for joining us. Today I have the honor to present the status update for the Whitesburg Unified School District's robotics program. start off with our goal. So our goal is pretty simple. We have two different goals for the Wiseman Unified School District's robotics program. One, our goal is to provide every student with an opportunity to build and program a robot. And we are well on that path. And the second goal is to help to develop and establish career college pathways for STEM. So those are our two big goals. And you can see kind of once we get started, we'll talk about how that's going to work. We're doing something that has never been done before in the Wiseman Unified School District. So to build and program a robot, we needed a small army of volunteers to do this. So we started off by thinking about like who are the people in our community that can help us. And that's pretty much everyone. We needed everyone in order to get this done. So we started off by getting $55,000 from one. And so we went to WEF and they gave us a huge generous contribution, and that put us well on our pathway. Dr. Harback came to me and said, like, we've got these programs at Da Vinci, we've got these pathways, we've got these programs at the middle school, at Wiseman Middle School. How are we going to implement a program at elementary level that's going to be robust and have all the components where we can have every kid participate? So that's where we went with it. Oops. So.
Just
Gonna
if
be-
anybody feels bad about their technology skills, we also have technology problems with sophistication.
There it is. Yay.
The whole world.
Want to just click on the slides and I'll just go over them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the next one. So,
Yeah, it's-
yep,
Please.
yep. Next slide, please. It's okay. I can see
There we
it.
go.
Oh,
Yay.
there's the-
Next slide, please.
Oh, I'm not on that one here.
There's a little bit of a lag.
Okay.
Oh, my God. It's inside the.
Yes, next slide, please. Thank you. So Dr. Silvers, you always come to me and say to me, you know, how are we going to be relevant? So I thought about that and I thought, like, what does that mean for our program? So the first thing I found online was this: the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects employment in STEM fields will go 5 times faster and more robust than non-STEM fields over the next 10 years. That's a fact. In addition to that, the median income for those STEM jobs in 2022 was twice as much as a non-STEM field. So it's roughly 97,000, 42,000, those are the numbers. And the reason why I start with that is because if we want to be relevant, we have to create opportunities for our kids to get those high paying jobs. And so we really have to understand, like, what do we have as resources in our community? And we have just amazing number of STEM organizations in our backyard. And I'm going to call it the Weismer Nebula because I just heard Dr. Ehrenberg yesterday. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And Dr. Ehrenberg basically presented our students and talked about nebulas and talked about the birthplace of stars. So I like that we should adopt that. So we live in this tech hub where we have Northrop Grumman, SpaceX, Boeing, Aerospace, Chevron, and we just have this opportunity to help our kids get those coveted jobs, and they are getting them. So we're going to talk about that as well. We already have STEM pathways at Da Vinci High School. We have a robust STEM program. Yesterday, we had 45 kids apply to 5 spots on our team. So this Saturday, you're going to see kids going every 15 minutes applying for those jobs, and they're going to be interviewed by those students in the back, by the former students that we have. So that's how Dr. Harback came to us and said, like, what are we going to do for the elementary schools? Next slide, please. So since it's never been done before, we knew our goal was unprecedented. We had to build a kind of an army of people that we're going to enlist. So as I said, we got the $55,000 grant. We actually went to Da Vinci's summer camp program along with my team, and we actually stayed there for 2 weeks and learned from them. Because there's no better way, we don't want to start a program and say like, I'm just gonna find a program that works in another district. Let's find one that works here. So we worked with Joy O'Hara. I wish she was here because I want to thank her publicly. We invited her, by the way, and she has been amazing. She gave us all the intel. She let us borrow her supplies and materials for a couple of months. We got to test and build together with her. We got to use Adam Tittle right here to help us to build out and program things right here in this boardroom, actually. And we worked over the summer in order to get this program off the ground. We used, we basically got WEF to support us with other events, like we had a Bricks and Brew event, we had a fundraising event, and we turned that into a place to recruit parents to help us, on our pathway. We recruited 23 parents, and basically our goal is to get 50 parents trained so they can help out in the classroom. We received generous support from Aerospace. Tammy Choi, Senior VP from Aerospace, was at one of our events. She was the first person there and the last person to leave. We had at Northrop Grumman, we have Cindy Lai here, Cindy Lai, correct? Cindy Lai here, and she's a citizenship rep. She's been supportive over the years, and basically last year she gave us a engineering event for our school, just for our students. Yesterday, she was able to organize, we went on a field trip yesterday, and she was able to organize having Dr. John Ehrenberg, Chief Engineer for J-West, give us a status update of J-West just for our students. It was amazing. We thank you for joining us and thank you for all your support. And we've had support from former students like Alexa, who's she was a former student, now she's at Northrop Grumman. She called and said, hey, Mr. D, I'd like to do something for Dana Middle School. So for my alma mater. So she joined along with the Society of Women Engineers. We have Camila here. Camila, can you raise your hand? Camila is the president of the Society of Women Engineers. And the two of them got a team of students together and they supported us with an event at aviation for the 5th graders. As you can see, the theme is we're using everyone to help us with our program. The Society of Women Engineers has done a lot of work to help us, and they're helping us to develop a program to get more girls involved in STEM. Next slide. So like I said, since it's never been done before, we have a lot of people we have to thank, we have to go through. We had a program for parents where we had a 2-hour wrapped up training session. And then we actually asked them to sign up with the district's Raptor program so they can volunteer. So we had them fingerprinted, et cetera, and they're in our classrooms helping our students today. We enlisted Da Vinci High School students under Adam Tittle's leadership with trainings, as I said. We attended back to school events where we recruited parents and we just sat there with the table and said, like, we need your help. Anyone who's interested, you don't need any prior experience. We just want to see if we can train you and get you to help us with this program. In the end, Whitesboro Unified School District staff, Dr. Hastings, the entire team has moved mountains and just basically helped us procure supplies, prepare classroom space, pretty much remove any barrier in it that we needed to be removed in order to launch this program. And we're thankful to everyone. We're a super big thanks to Dr. Harback and our principals, because my principal, for example, has to constantly change schedules and move things around just to help me to help support the elementary programs. But most of all, next slide, please. The team, these ladies that I'm working with have been nothing short of phenomenal, honestly. They do a lot of work that's behind the scenes, including taking every robot apart, putting it back together, making the kits, setting up the lessons, all the work that they have 5 minutes in between sessions sometimes. And they're constantly moving, thinking about what they can do to make things better for the students. They have a strong belief that every student can do this. And without them, we would have no program. So I'm really thankful to them. I want to give them a round of applause. They believe in the kids and in the program, and I'm so grateful to know them. They're just amazing educators. this is kind of a timeline of where we were and how we are building capacity. Nothing is left to chance. We do it, we plan it, we think about it, we try it. We have what Shannon calls guinea pig classes. And then we do it with that class, then we learn, and then we roll it out with the entire team, with the entire grade level. And so that gives us an idea. If you can go down to the programming a robot part, what's underlined, sorry, go to the, see it in the middle, it says WSD STEM Day. There's a short video, you may have already seen it. Maybe not. It's okay, we'll skip it.
Skip it.
Yeah, we'll skip it, it's okay. We'll go to the next slide. So, as we said, we're building capacity. We're not there. We're obviously trying to do something that I don't know of any district in the entire state that's ever done it, where every kid builds and programs a robot, every kid, TK through 5th grade. I don't know anything. I've been doing this for 12 years in the STEM area. And I've not met any school. I've been looking for a school that's done it because I wanted to go there. So we're building capacity. Here's our survey. It's interesting. It's just where we are. Have you ever taught computer programming to students? And we have 92% that said no. Can you go to the next slide, please? Just a survey we did with teachers. Have you ever built a robot? Only 90% said no. So 10% said yes. So we have a long way to go, but here's what we did. Under Albert's leadership, he's so smart. He told me one day, he just came up and said, why don't we train the teachers? And I said, absolutely, let's do that. So we had a PD and we got everyone on board. We pretty much showed all K-5 how to build and program a robot. I mean, we should have started there, maybe, to be honest. Go to the next step. Today, this is where we are so far. 100% of our 5th graders have built and programmed a robot. 100%, that's at Delaware Aviation. 100% of our 4th graders. We're at 85% of our 3rd grade at one school and 75% at another. But I bet if I ask them today, that number's changed already, right? So we're moving in the right direction. We're starting our 2nd grade, can you go to the next slide? 2nd grade next month. But yesterday we had a training session at Holly Glen where we trained our 2nd graders how to program the robot. We already taught them how to build it, but people said, like, we need a little bit more support with programming. So we did it again. And they seemed very happy. So we're excited about rolling it out at 2nd grade level next month. We'll go 3rd grade in March, 1st grade at March, and then kinder in April and TK in May. Then in June, we'll reflect over 2 weeks and build out new goals and start a new year. And I'd like to end with a student story really quickly. So I just want you to know that our work together is making a difference. I want to tell you a story about a former student who was, I'm not going to call his name out, but he was in special ed, diagnosed with learning disabilities in 2nd grade. And he continued the special ed program all the way through the 8th grade. He is an amazing kid, though. He has amazing talents and amazing abilities, but he just wasn't fitting in the right box that we were putting him in. Well, he went on to Da Vinci School, continued with the robotics program, did a phenomenal job there. And then this last year, he's graduated high school. And I asked him, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm going to come and volunteer and help you. So he helped me for a few months with the program. Well, he helped me with 3D printing, et cetera. And he was just really clever. He's still clever. He was always clever. Well, he just recently got a job, a really great paying job at a 3D modeling company. And they put him in a position where he's going to make double his salary in 3 years. And then after 2 weeks' time, they said to him, you're a genius. We're going to put you in another division. And they're already cross-training him in another division. He's thriving in that position. So not every person needs to have a 4-year university college education. What we can do for these kids is put them on a path, let them build, let them tinker, let them learn skill sets that are going to help them to gain meaningful careers in college or career pathways. So I just wanted to end with that. Can you go to the next slide? And I want to tell you a little bit about this. The JOS Eagle Nebula, that's the picture from JOS with the NIRCam. And Dr. Ehrenberg was explaining to us yesterday that that is the birthplace of stars. So that's what I wanted to leave you all with, is that we have a real opportunity. And this kind of gives me a lot of hope to look at this picture. Thank you.
Excuse me, Andy, just wanted to share a couple of comments here with you as well. I want to say thank you. Before you go. I wanted to say thank you for your leadership and because I know it doesn't happen by itself. And as you said, that you're mobilizing the community to make this happen. Obviously, our teachers, our students and parents, but thank you for all your efforts and perseverance for really sticking through this program. I think it's an unbelievable and fantastic achievement to have all fifth graders at those two schools and fourth graders that have had the opportunity to program and build a robot. I recently, just last week, I attended the LA County School Trustees Association meeting at Pasadena City College. And there was about 25 different school districts. And Mr. Robert Hogue, who's the senior engineer with NASA's JPL, he was the presenter and one of the chief and lead designers, very appropriate for the Perseverance rover.
Oh, wow.
And he showed us images that were incredibly captivating. The very first image of Mars. And it was because of a robot, right? That they were able to launch and get to Mars. And also they were able to build a helicopter that interacted with the rover for the launch and the landing. So all 25 school districts, board members and trustees left there wanting to implement a robotics program at their school district and all wanted to hire Mr. Robert Hogue, who already has a job at JPL, so he's not going anywhere, right? But I think it's incredibly exciting to know that we're already well under that path, under the path, and our students are already successfully engaged in that. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for it. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Just echoing Roger's words of thanks for all you've done over the years to build the various programs that we have. Back when I was serving on WEF's board and, I attended several of the hackathons that we did, over those period of time. And both of my kids are in aviation now, so my fifth grader was very excited to build his robot and go through that, and waiting for the third grader to tell me. But I know they're doing some of that work in the after school programs too. So thank you for your leadership and passion for this. Our children really benefit.
Yeah, Andy, this is exciting. I love seeing the articulation go down from K to 5 and obviously now it's K to 12 really, and working together with Da Vinci. So thank you very much. I'm excited about this, and I just wanted to thank the Army that's out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Echo my colleagues' words, and you continue to be a gift to us, Andy. Thank you very much.
I think too, I know Anna's there with WEF, and how, committed WEF has been, to our STEM program, to our STEAM program, our music program. It's just, we're very thankful to that, and we're able to do a lot of this because of your support. So thank you very much.
Please send our thanks to Eric.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So should I take the next?
Yeah, the
Oh,
next presentation.
So we like to do it in order, we like the second one to be more captivating, and so we think it is today. We actually have our audit report. Say something, Chris? Do you have anything to say? Are you gonna introduce somebody?
Check it out.
Yeah, why don't you introduce?
I can give you a right later on.
Way to clear a room.
I know exactly. On it right before. I had my cup of coffee.
before we started. Also.
So just to give you a little background on how the audit process works, we do have a interim audit. We do roughly during the summer, and that's a big piece of this. And then we have the year-end audit as well. And so this is really the report you're going to hear is a culmination of that audit, and it's a lot of work. I mean, I just can't say enough how much our team, Araceli Fernandez, Jeanette Victoria, Candace Allison, payroll, Silka Takun, and also the principals, the clerical staff at the sites. It's a comprehensive process involving a lot of people, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of coordination, a lot of follow-up, and it really is helpful. We have a good partner with Christy White, and it's a positive experience every time, even when we're trying to figure things out, and it's always collaborative with them. So I'll let Christy White take over. Thank you, Christy White.
Thank you, Jason, and good evening, board members. I hope you can hear me okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. We've had a very positive experience ourselves this year in doing the audit and the work that your staff do and helping to coordinate it, provide all the information. And not only just the business office, but the audit spans really the entire district. So the school sites and the attendance accounting that we're doing, your ed services side on the categorical programs, and even HR and its work with the payroll and that coordination. So the audit is quite comprehensive and takes part in a couple major stages during the year. Early on, we look at internal controls, do a lot of compliance work, and then once your unaudited actuals are submitted to the state, the county and the state, we audit those. So saying all that, there's a big report in front of you, and I'm just going to touch on the highlights, but feel free to ask any questions. There are 3 opinions in the audit report. One is on your financial statements. The second is on state compliance, and the third on federal compliance. So on page 1 of the report is your opinion on financial statements, and it's the best opinion you can receive. So it says, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And we had no audit adjustments. So the numbers that you see here came straight from your unaudited actuals. It is on a full accrual basis of accounting, so there's some aggregation of the data. The format looks a little differently, but it's your financial statements and you receive the best opinion on that. In terms of the federal compliance and the state compliance, let me just kind of move to those on my page here. Okay, so for state compliance, there's so many areas that they've added. Each year there's more programs. Of course, there's still a lot of COVID money that was still being spent last year. So areas that we tested included, of course, the traditional attendance accounting, instructional time, the school accountability report card, transportation expenses, clean energy, transitional kindergarten. So that's very new. And the expanded learning opportunities and even more. So much to cover. And in doing that, we had no findings, no instances of non-compliance. Last year, you had one finding in the maintenance of effort on transportation that was cleared. So there's no finding on that this year. So really good job with all of that. And then on the federal side, we tested the education stabilization funds, and we kind of rotate what we audit on that side. And again, no findings, the best opinion that you can receive. So I'm happy to report that good audit, successful, and no findings in any area. Any questions?
Excellent news. Thank you. Any comments from the
I
board?
don't have any, thank you.
This is Neil Goldman, just to appreciation, Christy, not only you've been working with us for many years. Kudos to Jason, to you and the team, Blake, your leadership in the organization of the financial management, really appreciate that. Christy, it's nice to see you. You've been working with us for a while. I don't know if we've had the pleasure of seeing you directly after
Yeah.
all these years. So it's nice to see you in person. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, John Whitehouse is your partner, and this is our board meeting season. So he asked if I would be here, and years ago I would come out there, and I think I even sat in that boardroom doing the audit myself at one point. So it's nice to be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All right. Next item is board reports. Let's start with you.
Sure. So, this past Monday, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. He made his quote about education that I really love, which is that the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of true education. And I think we at Weisburn are, living into that with our SEL program, focus on SEL programming, trying to expand our DEI instruction for our schools and really just to help students be their full child, right? That they're bringing themselves to that and that's a big part of what we're doing in the schools. So just want to recognize that and I also had the privilege of attending the WEF meeting last night. Looking forward to a lot of exciting things coming up for the rest of the year. If you hadn't heard, the stargazing, which was supposed to be this Friday, was postponed until January 26th because of potential cloud cover tomorrow night. But I'm so excited that stargazing is back. That's always been one of my favorite things that WEF does. I fought really hard to keep it for a couple of years, and so I'm excited that it's back. So please come out for that stargazing, which is done in partnership with Celestron, that builds the telescopes, and it's a very, very cool experience to be out there with the families and our partners from around the community, our aerospace community that's around here. And then they had a number of potential new board members that were for themselves that were there at the meeting. So it was great to see the continued interest in serving that organization, which really does give back so much to our district and the commitment of all of the people that are there in that room. So just wanted to share that back. And don't forget, Me First is Rock Around the Block. So they're looking for auction items. And so please get in touch with them if you have connections with businesses, or you yourself have a business and want to contribute something, or any other, things that we can include in the auctions. Their primary fundraiser for the year that helps us do things like that large contribution to the robotics program. So, that's my report.
Roger.
Thank you, Nelson. This is our first meeting in 2024, so I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody. It's hard to believe that we're already on the 18th. It just seems like we're picking up in 24 where we left off in 23, and it's incredibly busy, but in a productive and a very useful way. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's a part of our district. Thank you for all your contributions that help all of our students achieve. Really looking forward to 2024. And welcome back to the new year. I know we're starting a new semester, but really looking forward to it as well. And I already gave my comment earlier about attending the LACSTA event for the robotics program, which is really exciting, and really proud of our district for how far ahead we actually are to some districts. Not that we're competing, but we are sharing in the knowledge there, because that is actually one of the purposes of LACSTA. For a moment here, I'll just share. Part of that group is for multiple districts to attend and share best practices and commonalities, and where we can help and support each other. So I will not be offering up Dr. Desiree because I know he's very busy. However, if there's some information or things that we can share and contribute for them to build their programs, I look forward to helping those districts as well as they often help us too. So great group. It was a pleasure attending on our behalf.
Thank you, Roger.
Happy New Year as well to everybody. Nice to see you. I also wanted to echo Nelson's comment about thanking the applicants for the board. We had 11 applicants. It's great to see that community interest. Looking forward to the interviews on Monday. It is Monday, right?
Yeah.
It is Monday. Okay, Monday. That's it, starting at 1 p.m. So it's our whole afternoon. That's great. Also wanted to share that met with Dr. Silvers today to kind of somewhat finalize the input after years of work and input from multiple committees and groups about the strategic foundation. I'm very excited where that's gone. We're going to be presenting that for a first view at our next board meeting, but beautiful, love it. So excited to see that, share that. I also had a request that I just wanted to remind Dr. Hasty and Dr. Silvers that we had some conversation last year about the SLC and Futures program in terms of the finances and the whole business case and what's going on with that. And we're looking forward to a future presentation on that, which I'm sure is in your works, but I wanted to remind you guys. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Simple for me. Happy New Year. Looking forward to 2024. District leadership reports. Blake, take it.
Peggy, you had something, no?
I
I'm
do
just
not.
kidding. You told me.
I know.
The joke, I'm gonna take it. Jason, did you want? All
I'll go
right,
first.
tag, you're it.
Good evening. I just wanted to give a enrollment update. We've opened our enrollment window on January 8th. So this year we did a little differently. We opened the window completely. So residents, new residents, returning families, families reaching out about permits, the window is now open for everybody. And we're getting great response. So already seeing how families are interested in either returning or applying to our district. So that's
This is
great news
24-25.
for 24-25. And we've already started our tours. So far, we've had 9 tours. I really do want to thank the principals for their outstanding work. 9 tours.
Wow.
Their outstanding work so far. We've had an 80% attendance rate from our RSVPs. And just a reminder to families, you just go online, you can apply online. You can also RSVP to attend a tour on our website. So everything's right there, very easy, just one click. I also want to mention that we're starting our survey season. February 8th, we're going to be launching a number of surveys. So we're going to start with the California Healthy Kids Survey. We used to provide this survey just to 5th and 7th grade, and the information has been very helpful to us in terms of our student wellness and safety programs and just information in general to guide us. This year, under the guidance of Dr. Ingram and Ms. Nitsos, we're going to expand all the way to 3rd grade through 8th. So we'll have much more data to look at, and of course, we'll come back to the board with that data. We're also sending out our LCAP survey and the California Healthy Kids Survey to our staff. We did this last year for the very first time. We're going to repeat it this year. It's great information for us to work with. We have a meeting coming up. It's our how-to mid-year, mid-check-in collaborative on February 1st. And this is part of a 3-part series. We meet in June, again in August, and then mid-year. And the whole point of it is to bring together all our administrators, our counselors, and our guiding coalition, which is our teacher leadership from each campus. We gather together to review our assurances, our 5 assurances for the district, hone in on our initiatives for the year, our key initiatives. This year, of course, it's math and student wellness and safety. And then how are we going at those? How are our goals being met? And what do we need to switch as we move into our 2nd semester? So it's a great evening. We'll meet for about 4 hours under the guidance of Dr. Bill Saunders, former UCLA professor, researcher, and of course, Dr. Silver. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Dr. Harbeck, I just have a question about the LCAP. Can you just remind folks what the process is, like where we are in that process and what is coming up?
Right. The LCAP, the local control accountability plan, is winding up. It's our 3-year plan. It's finishing this year. So I'll be back in February with our mid-year report telling you where we're at, and that's required. So we do come back to the board on that. Simultaneously, we're creating a brand new LCAP for the next 3 years. So at this time, we're collecting names of those who can commit to a 2 to 3 year process with the LCAP as part of our collaborative committee. These are our educational partners, school site council, PTA, interested parents. And of course, our cabinet would be there and our administrators. So we're going to start that process in February. I think our first meeting is February 15th, be here in the boardroom. And just very nice look at our assurances and where we're going and where we've been. A lot of data. We want to bring back that data and talk about that. So, and then we'll wind that up. That's a full process. We started, I think, today, Ms. Nitsos met with the ASB over at Wiseburn Middle School to go through our assurances with them. We like to start with the students, get some feedback. And that's part of our survey as well going out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I do have a budget update, and I want to put a PowerPoint up there so we can, the one that you have also in front of you, we'll just go over that. There we go. Okay. So this, wanted to give an update. The governor's budget, the first proposal came out, and we've talked about this when I always present budget adoption, first interim, things can change. And yes, things have changed. So keeping it simple at this point, the good news, for the current year, there's no deferrals, meaning we're not going to give you your money. We're gonna have to, wait for that. And the other big piece is there's no takebacks. Like sometimes, they've taken back money that they said they gave us, and that's not happening. So that's good. So current year is staying the same. The bad news. So if we're looking at the 24-25, and again, we're planning a year out as always. We always look at the current year and the 2 years, subsequent years. 24-25, when I went to first interim, it was 1% COLA. Now it's dropped to 0.76. And I'm going to get to more analysis. You'll see on the next page after this. And then the other decrease, you'll see the third year out, current and 2 subsequent years, third year out, 25-26, we're going from 3.29 to 2.73% COLA. So everybody's gonna ask, what does that mean? And so if we can go to the next slide. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so if you can push the button, I don't know if we have a PowerPoint. Thank you. There. Okay, so this is a bit of analysis. You already have the arrows on yours, and I'll walk you through it. When we did the budget adoption, you can see the first line for 22-24 current year, we were 8.22% COLA, if you want to call it a super COLA, but we've had some unforeseen or unprecedented COLAs over the last few years. And again, the statutory COLA is usually dictated or by the what we call headline inflation rate. So, and that will make that vary. It's not like we have some control over, the state has control. It's a formula that comes out. For 24-25, you see 3.9. And then of course that BA budgeted adoption, that was our LCFF entitlement. If you could push the button again. And now when I reported first interim, you'll see that 1% there. If you push it one more time. And that was the 1%. So that was the decrease. And so what that equated to, and if you push it again, we got that negative. And so that was really the difference over time between the two. And so first interim, you'll see we went from that 27.99, and then we went down to 1%. And the difference of reduction in revenue is at 617,000. I talked about earlier, it does compound to the next year. So if you push it again, and then you'll see the following year, just based on that decrease from 3.9 to 1%, that was the next year. And I'm putting a fourth year on here just so you can see that this is all projected out, and we can look at it in the fourth year as well. If you can push it one more time. Okay, so here's the new COLA, and that's what that represents. So we went from that 1%, 0.75, push it again. And then now we see that little decrease, that was another negative of 65,000 for that latest decrease. So if you go one more time. Now, here's the other change. So that 3.29 went down to 2.373, sorry. And then you'll see if you push it again, you'll see now we're down to that. We lost another 220,000 revenue right there. And if we can just, you can keep pushing it one more time. Okay, so really across the line, if we're combining all those years, we're looking at, and again, we're talking the current year, 3 years out, this is a little further, but you'll see about 2.1 total. And this is all projected. But if we're really, what you'll see for revenue when I go to probably second interim, if this doesn't change again, I hope it doesn't. But when we go to second interim, that 641 plus the 682 is about 1.2, 1.3 million in total loss of revenue over the time. So I just want to make sure if you understand what each decrease in revenue, what that means for the COLA to us. Yes.
Casey, just a comment. What this is reflective of is a projection, it's a forecast that we're going to be receiving less revenue, not that we've lost revenue.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure.
Correct.
And there was a report where Governor Newsom made a comment that because the state's facing a $68 billion deficit.
Correct.
That the plan, or at least his statement was, that he expects to hold school districts and community colleges or education sector harmless from the deficit. Has there been any other discussions or conversations that you've heard of, or obviously depends on what gets officially published?
Based off, the AXA came out with the report. I also, the CSBA had their budget workshop as well. The governor's being very positive right now, and there's a little bit of doubt on, how positive that is. LAO, the Legislative Analyst Office, they were saying that they gave that $68 billion shortfall of tax revenues, and the governor's coming in and saying it's $38 billion. So again, this current budget right now is positive. He's saying things like that he'll hold harmless, but everybody's gonna go, well, how? And so that's kind of where we're waiting for those details to come out, and we don't know.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, I guess relatedly, I thought that he said that he was gonna dip into the rainy day fund
Yes.
to provide so that the stabilized funding. So were these numbers, I guess, based on what he had published
Correct.
before he said that he was going to do it, or were this? I just was trying to understand the timing of his comments about the rainy day
Yeah.
fund and the.
He's saying he's gonna
changes
dip
in
into the rainy day
projections.
funds to make the current proposal work.
Okay,
Does that make, yeah.
okay. got it.
Again, to
Okay.
build on both of my colleagues' comments, this is not a decrease this year, so far, he's holding that. It's
Projected.
a decrease in the increase for the future. What is most relevant to me is not so much, these numbers are incredibly relevant. The bottom line is more relevant.
Mhm.
This is the revenue side. I'm assuming, I'm not assuming, I know, you will be presenting to us the expense side and what that means for the bottom line in future presentations.
Yes.
However, I'm assuming, is there anything you can inform us about? Are you adjusting to this, and what does that mean for the budget for the district?
Exactly. So if you have any other questions about this one, if we just go to the next slide. And that's really essentially the impact on us as a district. So we've had this decrease in revenue. Can you move the, sorry, I just want to make sure. So we have an AB 1200 that's going to go for approval based off the WFA agreement. And you'll see on page 5 on that agreement, it has that unassigned amount based off this agreement we're putting forth. It's showing about 712,000 of unassigned dollars. That was done before this latest reduction, so I want to be clear. So, essentially, even with this latest change, that is roughly around 426,000 of unassigned dollars. So that is going to cut into our unassigned dollars. And so, will we have to reduce expenditures? I mean, that's the question. I mean, essentially, we're going to have to, especially when we're looking at multi-year projections and we're not completed our bargaining session with a group yet. And so those are all pieces. So when we bring that next AB 1200 to, once we do have a settlement, we're going to have to bring everything there. And most likely we're going to have to, and that's my last one. I say may, I'm going to tell you right now, I have to say may now because we haven't had an agreement, but we shall most likely have to use some one-time funding to make up the difference if there's a shortfall. And there will be a shortfall at this point based off that, but we also have some we can work on the reductions and how we're gonna plan that out. And really, it's not gonna hit us until that 25, 26 year. But we gotta show that we're gonna get there, because that's our part of the rule. We cannot show that we're going negative in any time. We do have other funds, we do have, but they're one time, so we do definitely have to make some corrections.
I just want to add to it, while, we are looking out at projections, we're looking out at, theoretically looking out at numbers on paper, they're not real numbers yet, they are projections. So talking about some of those revenue losses in the out years, when we make financial decisions though, particularly related to ongoing expenses like raises or health and welfare support, it's with those numbers in mind. So there is some sort of, there is a connection between looking at those projected numbers and what we commit to financially in the current year. So there is some definite work to do there in that delta.
We can go to the last slide.
Sounds like we may have some tough decisions ahead. Yeah.
So state budget's not finalized. We always say that. And we have the May revise, and there's going to be there's already a lot of discussion. It's going to continue. This is really the first time in a while we've seen this drop in the COLA. So, the first time we saw it, I think I was at Casbo, and I heard the collective gasp. There was 1,000 people in the room that were pretty upset. So the other piece too, we still, this is assuming inflation is not going to go up. There's pieces like that we just don't know yet. So the economic forecast may change. The governor's assuming there's no recession right now. We just don't know, right? And of course, we have second interim, and that's when hopefully these numbers don't change. We'll be able to pull everything as of January 31st. We look at all those expenditures, and then we say, where are we now and what adjustments? And then, of course, that final one that's going to have, it will have a significant impact as we close out bargaining, and that's what we'll have to bring to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're up, Blake.
Yeah, I'm just thankful for the report. I do want to say a couple updates. Obviously, Happy New Year. I think that it's been, it's funny because like the break is great. And then all of a sudden, week 2, you feel like you haven't been on break. No, it's different. What happened? No, I do want to say that I had an opportunity last week just to pop in, but for those of you who don't know, Monique is spending a lot of time. We're going to student behavior and programs as we look to, we brought that Capturing Kids Heart program to the board last year. We're going through a process of looking at various programs with the core team. Monique's led that effort. The principals have all been there as we start sort of dissecting some of those programs that are being brought forward and taking a look at what resources, we could provide. Looking at it from multiple angles, it was just really nice to hear some of the conversations in the room about some of the needs and questions about student behavior and how we help, basically just behavior in general on our school sites to promote that positive behavior. So I really want to thank Monique for that, for leading that effort. And I know Eileen was there, and of course our principals over there as well, just leading those. Those are challenging discussions. Those are big decisions to make moving forward. And, it's something that it's going to be a real value to our kids and to the community as we move forward. So thank you for that. I also want to talk a little bit about our facilities program. We are looking at ways to message that facilities program and some of our facilities projects through our website and then other newsletters. Looking at some paper newsletters where we can get that information out to the community that may not go to our website or just may not cross their mind. We're looking at doing that once, maybe twice a year. I did have a chance to talk to Erica about that, and we do have an option there for that. It'll get delivered. We're not going to have to go out and hand deliver it, obviously, but I'm going to have a company go out and deliver that to all of the residences and the zip codes in our district. So more to come on that, but we're looking at like a March, which is good because we're not starting any heavy construction yet. So it'll be a good time to get that out and get timelines out. And then how that transitions to our website is going to be important. I know we have some work to do on our website as we've updated that. So trying to make that a comprehensive place. Really what we'd like to do is point people to that website, regardless of who you are. And because if we can really upgrade that website, the information on the website, then people would have that updated snapshot of where our facilities are, timelines, maybe pictures, as we move forward there. So just want to looking at excitement for that. We are ramping up a lot as it relates to, it was kind of quiet there, and maybe probably not for Noemi and Cherie, but it seemed a little bit more quiet there in the beginning, but now things are really starting to ramp up. We're going to start seeing some of these projects going, some decisions that are going to have to be made. We'll have to have that facilities committee meeting here soon, so we'll send that out so that we can bring stuff. Had a chance to see some early renderings of the Del Air modernization and the color choices for carpeting and entryways and all of that. And it was just really awesome, really great to see. And I just have my hats off to Noemi and Cherie. I mean, there is a lot of decisions and honestly, I would not want two other people to help us manage this process. So thank you very much for the work and the diligence and all that. It's just been really good. Also want to thank Eileen for this enrollment update today. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes. 9 tours. I think you said 9. I can't remember. I lose track, but that is a lot of time that our principals put aside to be there and to be at those tours and be tour guides. And we do rely heavily on people coming into our schools and seeing our schools, and they're just great stewards of the schools and great advocates for our school district. And I've been to all these tours at all the schools, and they're all so unique in their own way, but just really, really captivating. So families leave happy. It's just a nice, happy environment, a way to celebrate the school to people who may not be involved, some that are, but others that are looking for a place. And so just want to also note that enrollment is really so important to us, and just the role that the principals play as well, and how that happens. So just want to thank them as well for that. Also want to thank Kim. Kim is here. Kim has stepped in for us in a huge way, and I know it's been a challenge. I mean, Kim has balanced 2 jobs at one point and did so with grace and commitment and conviction, and just really trying to do both good. And she did, but I know that's hard. And she's supporting us over at Aviation right now as principal. And so my hat's off, Kim. Thank you for what you're doing. Okay. I just checked my whole list off. I got to thank people today. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'm done. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Blake.
Just not tonight.
Just done. It's done for now.
For now, right, okay.
Thank you. Do you have any public comments on agenda items? Thank you. All right, consent items. Do I have a motion on 10.1?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Have a comment? I know we can take them all. I just want to comment on 10.2 and 10.5 together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Roger, and comment, Steve.
Thank you. Make sure I got the right ones here.
We're in consent, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was 10.2 and 10.5.
Yeah, is that they're related, and
Mhm.
there is, no, they're not related. I'm mixing them up. I'm sorry. 10.2, I just wanted to tell you, I had some questions on both of these. Did a review with Noemi prior to answer those questions and to vet them. Appreciate your work on that, staying under budget and advising me. So I was just doing my due diligence to vet these, ask you for the answers. I don't need the details. Just thank you very much and feel comfortable now to approve these.
Any other comments before we vote?
No.
Nope. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Action items. First item is 11.1, adopt resolution number 2324.1, celebrating the February is Black History Month. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Martinez, I'm wondering, could we take 11.1 and 11.2 together as resolutions, and Dr. Ingrid can maybe share a little bit on each of those? Is that okay? You okay with that?
It's okay. Okay with that? That's,
11.1 to 11.2.
You have a second.
okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Neil. And I think Monique is gonna come up and.
She has a speech planned, I think.
So just a few things. We're trying to stay consistent with how we celebrate these events as a district. So usually spirit days where students can dress up, have a little fun, and also learn a little bit about the events that we're acknowledging. And so for Kindness Week coming up, it's actually a world wide event, the Great Kindness Challenge. And so a lot of schools around the world participate in this particular week. And so the students have spirit days, dress up days with different themes where they can promote and be motivated to be kind in specific ways during the week. Some of the sites, aviation specifically, is also having a drive where grade levels are assigned to like specific food or care items. So each grade level brings in something so that those items can be donated later. And then for Black History Month, something similar, the counselors are working with the school, student council, and PTAs to create those spirit days, to create those educational opportunities. And that's really exciting because students get really involved. Last year, we had a student who said, you know, I don't want the same old thing, a slide deck, a presentation in class, I want more. And so they worked with the counselors, and that influenced a lot more going on at the middle school campus last year and trickled also to our other campuses with assemblies and student involvement. And so we're looking forward to the same opportunities this year. The PTA at the middle school actually is having a breakfast in the morning where parents are gathering and going to talk about and plan for Black History Month as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Next item is 11.3, approve the single plan for student achievement for Del Air, Aviation, Holly Glen, and for Wiseburn Middle School and the Success Learning Center for 2024. Do I have a motion? I know we're probably gonna have comments here. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Neil.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Comments, questions with regards to the points?
I'll start.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Roger.
First of all, thank you everyone for preparing such comprehensive, heavy, challenging documents. You have other adjectives to describe these documents. And labor of love and maybe some tears. But I do want to thank everyone for all of their hard work, energy, and effort that went into these. It's always a challenge to look at the district as a whole, and these documents do an incredible job, and they highlight certain areas that we do want to look at. So one of the things I would like to discuss and have some conversation as well with my board member colleagues here is a follow-up also from our prior conversations with regards to math. Mathematics is one area that I'd like for us to look at in terms of our goals for the district, in terms of the growth and the improvement, such that our students are achieving at higher levels in mathematics. Right now, what this report shows us, and I just going to reference the Wiseman Middle School, 49.63% of our students are exceeding or meeting the state standards, but also which means that 50.37% are nearly at the standard or not meeting. Big challenge. We've had those conversations before. So now that we have these reports, what I'd like to do is have a conversation and request a plan such that we can look at recommendations, and this is for Dr. Silvers, to work with our administration, our staff, and our teachers, and let us know what you need in terms of resources, as in like whether it's professional development days, if it's staff time, assessment tools. What can we develop further to ensure that we're going to meet those metrics? I think the goal was to increase our scores from the exceeds to meets by 5% per year. And again, I'm not looking for 50% in 1 year. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. However, I want to make sure that we allocate the right resources to effectuate that 5%. What I see in the plan right now doesn't seem substantive enough in terms of an investment from our end, from the board. So I'm looking for a plan as to make the ask. What do you need from us for the board to consider for that investment, so that we can truly see the increase? Because if we invest in it, it'll happen. If we spend the time and invest in it, the likelihood of success is, I don't know, 10 times greater. Pick a number, right? But we are talking math, right? But one thing I can guarantee is without that time commitment and investment of resources, nothing will change. So I want us to look at it very introspect, internally as well. What can we do better? Not just our students, are they meeting the standards, are they not? How are we facilitating it? What resources do our teachers need, our administrators need? So I'd love to see a plan for that. So that we can put something together.
Yeah. If I may, Roger, I think that one of the things that, we have put quite a few resources at the board is, thank you to the board for this current year. We have a math specialist. And I think part of this process, it was February or March, we'll have to look at the dates, but there was going to be a presentation on that priority and how math has changed this year, what we were doing, what data we've seen, as well as what some of the future plans are. So I think that may be a good start for us to bring that to the board. It sounds like that would capture some of those. We're not in the business of asking as much as we probably should. So I do think that we need to also include in there, some of those, some of the wishes and maybe why we, don't think we can get those things, but also what, some things are maybe pie in the sky and then others that are more reasonable. And I think that we have that list. I know I've talked quite a bit to Eileen about it, and Holly, of course, has been doing a great job as a math specialist this year. She's ventured in. It's always about starting those new programs and making them as effective as they can and learning from it, throughout the year. So be happy to bring that to you in March, maybe March, Eileen, we do that and have that presentation for the board. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to Roger's comments. That was my focus. I know it is our focus as a district to be math. I did want to bring back something we had seen at the CSBA conference, was using AI tools that are self-directed. This should not be a solely self-directed activity, but there are AI tools that can bring enhancements that are very personalized to each student. I know Amigo was one. I imagine there's many others, but I would ask that in that presentation, consider additional tools that we may not be using that potentially we could bring to our students to enhance this opportunity. That was very exciting to see. It might have been pie in the sky, but whatever we can do to build on my colleague's comments here, Roger's comments, to give our kids a heads up or a leg up, this is a critical opportunity for us to embrace. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. I also agree with Roger and Neil on this one. With regards to math, I think tonight we saw something we're looking to articulate and bring STEM down to the K-5. So that vision, Eileen, I appreciate, because I think that's where we're going, and we have made some investments. But I agree with Roger. Let's find out what else we can do, and see how we could support you in that vision, because we definitely want to see improvements in math as well. So I also just want to take a moment to thank the principals and the leadership team for all of this hard work and the many pages. But it's a lot of good work, and it's an opportunity to take a look at this and kind of reflect back on the year, and also look towards the future, as my colleagues have mentioned here. So thank you for all the hard work. I believe I had a motion from Neil and also a second from Roger. All in favor on the single plan?
Aye.
Thank you. And just more work coming here with 11.4, the approval of the 2023 school accountability report card in its current state. And this is also for each of the schools as well. Do I have a motion?
Good motion.
Thank you, Neil.
Second.
Second, and I know we probably have comments here as well. Any comments from my colleagues? Rebecca? Neil?
The same level of appreciation. These
Yeah.
are daunting documents.
Yeah, this is just for the public's purpose. This is an annual requirement that needs to be published by each of the schools by February 1st. But take a look at this, ARC. I think we're posting these right on the websites, or
They go on the website, right?
I think we post them on the website. A lot of really good information with regards to each respective site about the condition and how we're performing in the school. So just wanted to share that with the community. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. 11.5, approve the comprehensive safe schools plan for 2023 through 2024 school year. Again, for all the respective school sites as well. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Rebecca. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Any comments or questions?
Just to say thank you to the school site councils who also put an effort to help create the comprehensive safety plans. I know, having served on a school site council, I know it is some work, and I know the principals also put in a lot of work to put that material together for the councils to have input into. I think it's a great way for communities to get involved. So, when there are openings on the school site council, don't be afraid of these documents. It's so important that we have them. And to have people's input into what they are, that they're not created in a vacuum. So thank you to everybody who had input into them.
No, I mean, your comment. I just, it does bring up the issue. We've had these conversations in the past of in the emergency circumstances, what is the access to information at our school sites in that moment of stress? You're not going to be remembering the document on the computer to figure out what to do. I just don't know where we are with that. We've had these conversations before.
Yeah, I know that we've also started realizing that we need to drill administrators district-wide into some of these practices. So we actually have had a couple meetings on that, and we're gonna have this drill. I forget the date now, if we even put one together. It's coming up though. And we're going to be doing a practice run through a couple of our scenarios, just the ones that we're most worried about, but we do have access to all the important numbers you're supposed to call and all of those things. We're just trying to figure out how to get things quicker to people and make sure that we understand the steps that we need to take. If maybe there's a midnight call or something like that we need to be ready and able to make things happen. So we're working on that. It's just a work in progress. I'll also say from a facilities perspective, we haven't had a chance to have a walk around of all of our facilities, and we have a safety report, security report that looks at line of sight, has looked at our current camera systems, provided some updates there, looking at access control. And what we're going to do now is we have talked to Noemi and Cherie as of today as well. We talked about it, which is trying to get together. We're going to have a longer meeting to bring to the facilities committee so that we look at some of the steps we may take in Series B or not soon, if not sooner, some of the safety upgrades across the district. So, we know that the Del Air modernization is happening now, but we want to take some steps towards some of the safety issues that we've seen actually in our district so that we can address those sooner rather than later. So working on that. So I'd expect to have an update in that regard as well at a relatively soon board meeting relatively soon.
Yeah, and I just want to thank the principals and the leadership team for all your work on this. This is our number one pillar. I would argue it is our number one pillar in terms of safety. So thank you for all your hard work on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you have a comment?
Just a follow-up comment. Is it cruel and unusual punishment that these three happen at the same time?
That was Eileen's idea.
Thank you.
All right. Next item, 11.6, AB 1200, approve the Wiseburg Faculty Association tentative agreement for 2023-24. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Neil?
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any comments or questions?
Just a comment. I know there's following documents or agenda items on here with a whole bunch of numbers. And I reviewed with Dr. Silvers, this is really hard for me as a board member to know if these numbers are right in terms of the salary schedules and whatnot. And I feel it's my fiduciary responsibility to know that they are right. And he assured me the process in which these are reviewed, updated, how they're built, and that each individual cell is reviewed. So that gave me some additional confidence and appreciation for the process that the team is doing. And just want to acknowledge that and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, I know Jason's put a lot of work into that piece of it, making sure that the numbers are accurate and checked. The process is there, so real confident with those numbers. I do know I want to speak, I probably should have said this early. Nisha's not here today. Dr. Dougal's not here today. She's at a negotiators symposium that happens every year in San Diego. So we had to divide and conquer, but she did put at the bottom here that we appreciate the cooperation of our employees through this process. And I just want to say, my heartfelt thank you to WFA and to the district team for doing this. And it's just a very collaborative approach to basically to negotiating and we're able to come to something that's a win-win. And so I just wanted to say that and thank everybody.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Can we take the next two items, 11.7 and 11.8 together? Any,
I'll make a motion
Thank
to,
you.
for it's 11.7 and 11.8.
thank you, Roger.
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I should ask if anyone had any comments.
Those are the documents of which I was
Yes.
speaking.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right. We're now moving on to facilities. First one is item 12.1, SLC Futures Program Update and Recommendation, Board Action to Purchase Portables. Dr. Hasty, you have a,
There's no arrows on this one. but we'll
Okay.
just go through.
How are we supposed to all of that?
sorry, do I have a motion on this item?
Get pulled up.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do I have a second?
There we go. That was quick.
Do I have a second on the item?
Second, sure.
Thank you, Neil. Now you may go.
Thank you very much. Again, good evening, board members. We can go to we'll get to the second slide. There we go. Purpose for the presentation. We just want to really go over the reason again for why we're moving the program. Just provide, and I know there was a request just about providing some background, and I think there was just a lot of information we didn't know as far as how the program works and how Futures works fiscally, and also just looking at the current enrollment and financials. And then we'll be looking at the last time when I know Noemi and AZ presented, they talked about some of the options with the leases. So I've looked at two different options on, based on whether we should rent or purchase, and we'll make a recommendation to the board. And I want to articulate why. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so again, this is the effect of a bond project. So it is an allowable expense under bond monies. We're having to relocate an existing program / facility. And I don't need to really explain it too much, but that facility needs to be demolished so we can have our wonderful sports complex, and we're going to have to move these two programs. And so again, because of a bond program. Next slide. So a little background. So the Success Learning Center, SLC, it runs a little differently than Futures, and I'm going to point some of these out. We have an estimated cost, and I want to be clear about that. And so right now, the estimated cost is $45,000. This right here is illustrated in a service agreement. So when a district wants to send us a student, we will have them sign what's called a service agreement, and then there will be an agreement as to how they will pay. And so this gives you an idea that if they are going to put a student into our program, they will do an initial invoice. We will invoice them for $22,500. And then if they're there for 90 days or less, we're not going to bill them the entire $45,000, but we have an agreement that we will charge them $270 per day for those 90 days or less if they're there. Once they go over that 90 days, we will then invoice them at the end of the year. And I want to be clear about that year-end closing. You'll see YEC. That's one of our other acronyms. We do invoice the district the final payment, the second half, and it's not always half. It's based on the total cost, and you'll see the actual program costs, enrollment, and plus we also look at the actual attendance. So there's other things, subtracted out there, but it is a total cost of what that program costs. So keep in mind too, I just want to throw it out there, we have our own students in there. So, that's where our contribution comes in too. We can go to the next slide. So Futures runs a little differently. And I want to make sure everyone understands that Futures students are all right now in that program. They're all our students. So any students in there, we're paying. And that really equates to a contribution. We have to have that program, for adult transition. Now, if another district wants to send a student, and the last time we had another district sending a student was El Segundo last year, they had 2 students with us. That's a little different. It's $50,000. We do $25,000 at the beginning, $25,000 at the end. It's the way it's always been. I mean, and we don't, it doesn't really fluctuate. And we don't do the estimated cost in the same way. I mean, there's really not a need now because it's our kids right now in that program.
Remind me, is it 18 and 23?
It's 18, I want to say up to
22.
22. Yes, next slide, please. So this is the current enrollment. I just wanted to kind of give you a little breakdown of who's in the program. So if we go to that top part, Success SLC, that's those high school kids. Total number of students right now in that program, we sit at 9. The different districts, I put us and also DV, so there are 2 of those 5. But we have 5 different districts or different, groups in there right now. And then we have how many actual WSD students, 2 DV students, you'll see 3. And then outside district students, 3. And then of course, a number of students this year we had a student exit before the 90 days already. So that would be that 270. So I always think that's a little bit of a different invoice we're gonna send them.
So the question I have, so I see the Wiseburn USD students and then the DV student, when do they become a DV student? When do they become a Wiseburn? I'm a little confused there.
You have a,
Are these Connect students who've gone through, or are they high school students that are now DV students? Yeah.
You're talking about the Futures Kids, the SLC.
Yeah.
So they're Da Vinci students. We have Da Vinci students who attend the SLC. Sorry, I guess I'm not understanding the question.
So
Trying to
who
understand
are the
that.
Wiseburn High, we don't have a Wiseburn High School,
Right.
so why is there the differentiation between
Well, so-
Wiseburn and DV?
Well, they're
Especially
Wiseburn.
Best Learning Center.
Thank you. Sorry, cut you off. They are Wiseburn kids until they're the 8th grade, in the 8th grade, and then they are Da Vinci students when they go up to the 9th
So it's
grade.
middle school and.
Middle
high
school, correct. I'm sorry. Brain fog. Yeah.
Got it.
And the Connect kids aren't part of this, although if they send a Connect student, that would be a Da Vinci student. Da Vinci would be paying for that. Does that
I
make
think there
sense?
was
Yeah.
just a confusion because
Yeah.
someone said just high school.
So we've had
SLP,
kids.
But it's middle school and high school.
Right.
That's
Middle school and high school. We've had kids that have started with us in the 7th and 8th grade at the SLC, then they matriculate, they become Da Vinci's. They stay with us perhaps at the SLC, but then they become Da Vinci kids. Yeah.
sorry, I should have clarified.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that was my fault.
And
And
then-
in the future, is the Wiseburn Unified School District, that's all ours, that's DV.
Yeah, exactly.
Includes DV
Yeah.
students as well. right?
Correct.
It does include students who would be otherwise, who had been enrolled at DV potentially, but are resident in the district because they're the
Right.
18 to 22-year-olds.
They're with us.
That would be the futures.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's why they're all Wiseburn.
That's
because
correct.
They basically become ours again once they turn 18 because they're residents.
Right.
So they're all
So-
Wiseburn residents.
So they're all resident,
It's not a.
they're all Wiseburn resident.
Correct. So currently, all of the kids at the Futures program are Wiseburn kids. They may or may not have attended the middle school with us at Dana, gone up to Da Vinci for high school, and then come back to us as residents to attend the Futures program. The kids that might attend their Futures program as high school kids would go on to their own district for the transition program. Yeah.
There's no permanent kids in the.
That is
Correct. We can take kids on, as Jason was saying, we can take students from other districts and they pay us. Service agreement. So,
So I think that what the genesis of all of this was the observation that we have 9 total students where we used to have teens plus in the past, questioning the financial viability of this because developing, I'm making this assumption, but it seems pretty reasonable that it's not going to cost you $50,000 per student at 16 students, whereas it would cost you that at 9 students. So thank you for this, by the way. One of the questions I think we all have is, why are the numbers down? Have other districts started their own programs? Is there something we can bring other students in? Is it advisable to bring other students in? And how do we make this as cost effective? We want this to be as academically enriched as possible. That's not our concern at the moment. It's the economics, I think, that's driving this.
right. Okay. So we're speaking specifically about the Futures program, right? At this
Well,
moment?
let me,
Okay. Because there's 2 different ways.
yeah,
of
let me,
funding.
with this question though, that's why I did put that, that 12 students. We do have an agreement that says, teachers, it's 12 students per teacher. So one thing I would say, do we have room to have more students and have more revenue? Yes. You see that 8, could we have 4 outside district and have 12? Yes. So would that be more revenue? Yes. Now, once we go over to like 13, 14, we have to get, no, you know what I mean? So we got to think about. So is there room for more revenue? Yes. Is there room for more students? Yes. Fiscal viability right now, I'll get to the next slide that kind of shows what our budget is and what we spent so far. Yeah, so I'll stop there just so we can.
Is
so we can
that
get back to
number 12 that you're talking about, is that apply to both SLC
Yes.
and the Futures?
And just, I guess, a follow-up question to Neil about, what's happening in the other districts. You know, I know that there's like 11 districts, right, in the SELPA, and this is intended to serve, I think, all of them potentially, right?
So the SLC is intended to serve all of them. The Futures program is intended to serve Wiseburn.
Right. So for the SLC program where the numbers are lower and there are 11 districts in it, do we do any sort of like reminder to those districts about like what's the communication look like about that? And
Yes, there has been, especially by our superintendent most recently.
No, we do.
The
We-
chair himself.
Right, we reach out, there's a lot of conversation about it and, you know, it's an as need, right?
Right.
So it's just, you know, you just never know. Year to year, next year it'll be 15. I mean, we just, you know, you just don't know. So we're,
I'm just wondering, like with personnel turnover, we have a lot of personnel turnover, and so there's other personnel turnover in other districts, like how do we let people know that this exists when they're thinking about options, especially for those kids who might otherwise go to a non-public school because it's not the right academic fit for them in whatever the public school offering is.
Yes, and we talk about it. I know that Dr. Silvers discusses it at superintendent's meetings and then I too as well at directors.
that's what I was gonna say. There's like that, there's separate meetings. I know Jason has the CBO meeting at the SELPA. I have the superintendent's meetings at the SELPA. You know, Peggy has the director. So we're making sure that communication's happening. It's once a month. Well, it is when it is.
Yeah.
It's several
Once a
times a
month.
year, you know.
So we know it was a program that was started here in Whitesburg, right, like
Mhm.
with Dr. Ring,
Yeah.
you know, to meet a need and to provide some financial savings, right, from having to send folks to the NPS.
Transportation costs alone. right?
All of those things. So just want to make sure that we're, you know, glad that you're having those conversations. And I think that was part of like our concern the last time when we saw that the numbers are down is like, what are we doing to make sure that folks know that this great program exists?
Right.
Yeah, and that's, you said it really clearly, to send students to other programs that like NPSs, it's costing, and it's not a cost that we can totally control. So you got to keep thinking, you know, you think about that. So it is a good situation where we have our program for our kids at this point. Let's get to the budget if we are good with the next slide. Okay, so this is adopted budget, what we did at 23-24. So if you look at, I really want to go to just, if you see the total budget, these aren't huge budgets. You know, it's a very small, the SLC budget, total budget's $432,000. Right now, and I say, when you see that, if you go to the gray column on the top, we had some carryover, 7,000. We had projected revenue, and then we had a contribution, and those are what we're considering our own students that are in the program. So total entitlement that we're going to bring in revenue wise at now, this projection is about 370,000. So we're looking at, when you look at 370 versus total budget of 432, you know, we're running, you know, we're going to run a little short, but it's not, you know, anything that could be, you know, I think we can make it work. And then of course, right now, this is as of November 30th, as you see, those are the actual expenditures in that second column. That's great. If you go down there, that available balance right now, based on, you know, how we're doing this year, we're almost mid-year, but you know, we're going to go a little over. So that gives you an idea, kind of a pulse on where we're going with this budget for this year. Futures is a little different. And again, because those are all our students, we're not going to get really an entitlement. We will have more of a contribution, but really that contribution will be as we close the end of the year and based on what the costs, the entire budget there, you see at 380,000, you could just expect that that's going to be your contribution that we would pay. And again, that would go into our special ed costs as well, you know, just that contribution or come out of there. So it's pretty, I hope it's explanatory as to what we're spending the money on. The one thing I do want to point out on this, if you see contracts, operations, services, about the middle of the page, and you'll see that 30,804. And if you go across, you see 17,214. That gets to where what we're talking about today. That's the cost of that lease for the SLC. Right now, we're renting a bungalow, or not a bungalow. It's the bathroom, the portable bathroom. So that's in this actual cost for expenses. Any questions about this?
Yeah, so you had mentioned on the previous slide that a couple slides back about the year-end invoicing to the district. So for that part where we would have the deficit in the revenue, are we invoicing the districts to make up that difference to get to the 400,000, assuming that those were all the expenses?
Yes. So if you go back to the budget part. Oh,
forward
Sorry,
to
you're doing it.
the-
Yeah, the
slide
budget.
that you were on.
So that's exactly, you're right. So what we do is, we do an end of year calculation as to what the total expenses were. And then, we would subtract like, certain dollars we got in excess because it's kind of double dipping, but there's a formula to it. But yeah, anything excess, then, that would be that estimated ending invoice to cover the difference. I want to say last year, total contribution was right around 100,000, but we had our own students in the program, so that seems about right, where we landed.
Jason?
Yes.
I think the question, and I think I understood it correctly, and I just want to make sure we get the right answer for Rebecca. There's the total, so you're saying 370,000, which is what, and then the difference between that and the 432, that's that delta that we're talking
Correct.
about. And you had mentioned in your comment, you mentioned we'll make it work. Like I think she's asking, is that delta going to be covered by the other districts? I don't think the answer is yes.
No, not completely. No. So we won't know until the end of the year, and then, but we do.
Some portion of the Delta.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the entire delta won't, but we will, we do an end of year invoice that covers a significant portion.
$60,000.
Yeah, and based on last year's contribution, like we ended up having to pay 100,000 of our own, but we also had our own students in the program. So those are kind of some of the things that you have to equate. It's not a perfect solution every time, but I think where we'll end up is right around there again.
So we're not gonna end up putting $150,000 contribution in there, right? Like adding the entire 60,000 to what our contribution line is?
We shouldn't, because I increased the estimate too. And so that was, we went from, I want to say 42, we're at 45 this year. So just to give people a heads up as to where we might end up, because our numbers were lower. And so I want to say, no, we won't. But, if we're based on last year, we'll probably be around 100,000. And that's where you see that contribution. I have that 90,000 up there.
Then I have two questions here. Maybe I'm missing something. Where's the revenue?
Oh, that's the top. So total, it's really under total entitlement. That's how we call this one. It's a little bit of a different budget.
So revenue is 370.
Yes.
Okay. And then am I reading, what's our expenditure? 432?
Yes.
So we're needing to calculate the delta. It's not on the page.
Yeah. So what is the?
60, that's the 60.
Well, you took total,
Yeah.
yeah.
432 minus 370, I just did it.
So what are to carry on with Nelson's comment, what's the total expenditures and coverages for the bottom section below the 432 and the 380? What is that?
That's the total expenditures right now is where we are mid-year. So that's you're talking about where it starts with 127?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we are mid-year. Is in November 30th. So we have total expenditures so far, we have 127, we have encumbrances, and then our pre-encumbrances, total obligated is 141. And right now, based on all that, the available balance we're at 228,000. And so, as we run through this and as we get to year-end closing, we're almost halfway right there, for the available balance based on that total budget.
So what's the projected? So what's the projected 6/30/24?
Which part? I'm sorry.
You're giving me the mid-year number, but what are we projecting? So I got a $35,000. I'm in the hole right now. 35 as a 1130 for futures.
Mhm.
For SLC, I got a 228,000 balance, but you're indicating that the expenditure is 432. So are you projecting that we're for SLC? So are you projecting that we're going to be 60,000 comes 630?
60,000
Short.
Yeah, as of now, yes. I mean, we're like right now.
So then, is it fair for me to say, what is the revenue? Is the revenue 83,000 for futures?
The revenue right now, total entitlement, 83,000, that's a carryover. So it's showed as revenue as a carryover. Total, remember, that's your total entitlement.
So what?
And we had a carryover
Okay, so what?
from the previous year.
So I know I can't be doing this right. I'm not taking the 83,000 and then subtracting the 380 in expenditure.
No, the 83,000 is where
Because that's what I'm doing over here on futures, but not doing it. I'm doing it on SLC, but not futures. right?
Yeah,
Am I
There is no
misunderstanding this?
additional projected revenue from the
It would
futures
be, it'd be
program
helpful
because
to
it's
know
all
projected
under-
revenue, that's called expenditures or entitlement, projected expenses.
Yeah.
And end of year, how are we gonna end up? That's.
Got it.
So let me go back to Rebecca's comment, maybe. Let's say there's no, so am I understanding that there's a basically, we're saying there's a $300,000 encroachment, right? Each year, because that's the expenditure is
No.
380, right?
No, because your total entitlement projected for this year is about 370,000 for SLC. And again, it's complicated because they're definitely different.
Wait, are you talking about futures or?
Futures.
Oh, yes.
So that
Yes.
is something that
Right
comes
now,
out
it's-
of
Yes.
There's a $300,000 encroachment
Correct.
each year. Okay, okay.
And
I'm
that's
sorry.
because that's serving, well, adults,
Yeah.
18 to 22, for which we, the district, do not get revenue or ADA. Is that correct?
No, we get revenue.
We get ADA of 10K probably, but we also get additionally
Yeah.
supplemental funds.
Yes.
So are those
So why
things
is
that
that
should
not in the
appear
revenue
in
side?
the, why don't those appear in the revenue?
They would, yeah, it's just that, well, we have not included it in here. We typically, this is the practice of, we've added as a contribution.
I think we should table this
Mhm.
and come back to it with a different spreadsheet that's more
Okay.
inclusive. Because I think that'd be more,
My
we're just guessing right
My
now.
second
That's
question,
not helpful.
my second question, Jason, is on capital outlay. We just talked about what we were gonna do with the SLC futures.
Yep.
Is that gonna be in here? Because I
Not yet, because this is the 23-24 budget, so we wouldn't do that until, if we're doing it this summer. So we haven't added that because we haven't agreed to do,
okay.
do that yet.
So there are some portion of this 380,000 that we are expecting to get something in to pay for that.
Correct. Well,
Right?
and again,
That's it, right? Okay.
it goes to a contribution to our special ed, our 65 AB 602. That's how, and so and that's why it's a bit complicated to show the revenue for each one of those students. We can definitely set it up that way.
But just showing, I think,
yeah.
how we're paid, like, where do we pay for that from,
Mm-hmm.
right? Would be helpful to know,
Yeah.
like, that we do get ADA for them, that we do get,
Yes, okay.
special education funds,
Whatever the
whatever,
numbers are.
whatever revenue comes in that is applied to these expenses, it would be useful to know.
And we know there's general encroachment, that's just, we know that.
Yeah.
But what is it, how's?
But how much is it
Yeah.
actually?
How much is?
Because just like the 380, it's a projection, our 380 budget, $380,000 is a projection. There's also a projection for revenue.
Correct. Yes.
So we've got to get that.
Revenue projection, so we know what we're subtracting the 380 from.
Okay,
or-
okay.
or-
Yeah, at the end of the day, our concern is this so
Right.
costly, we need to make different choices.
Problem is, we don't have, futures is our program, so yes, I mean, and there's limited choices we have there, but I know with SLC, there is a different conversation there, right? I mean,
And that is the challenge since, they are part of the special ed group, and we don't have any other students that are outside districts. So we don't have really revenue coming in because they're part of this other group. So we'd have to break them apart and show that whatever those actual students generated, the 7 or the 8.
Let me just also say that we don't lose track of, we are totally committed to doing right by these students, just like all our students. They're part of our community. So this is not about not serving our students. It's just trying to figure out financially the best way to do it for a win-win for the students and the district.
Thank you.
Well, I think just basically understanding how we're paying for the program, just so that we have that baseline understanding of what funds get used to do that.
Okay, I can definitely bring this one back. Can we go to the next slide? I do want to get into the two options. And again, just showed the budget, just how that works to a degree. And then we got option 1 and 2. So option 1, we talked about the 2-year lease. It's about $154,000 per year, and total cost over the 2-year period is $308,000. We have that option 2, which is the purchase of the portables. And then we'd be using them, again, the Measure EE funds, and the purchase for, remember, there's I want to say 22 by 60 or 40 by 60, and then there's 2 portable bathrooms as well. For all 3 portables, it's $470,000. So yes, on its face, we see a difference of about $157,000. If we can go to the next slide.
Jason,
Yes,
on
good.
the Does that include the cost to move these trailers?
Yes, that includes everything, right, Tony?
Or is that the 470 just to purchase of?
I think no, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
So we would only be relocating one 12x40 restroom building from, correct, the one that is at the existing 135th and Aviation SLC, at the existing SLC site. So that restroom building that is currently leased would be relocated here. It's the red one that you see there. Because the other two, the SLC, the orange one, is already here. It's a 60x40 building that is also being leased. That's the other one that we intend to purchase, already there. And then right next to the red building, you'll see to the left of it, it's another similar size 12x40 gray restroom building that's existing. So really quick.
There's a red pointer over there. It is a tribute to the integrity of our district. That thing's been here for 4 years and no one's taken it.
Okay, this one. So these three are the ones that are being leased. This is the only one that would be relocated. These two are already existing at this site.
Okay. And we're talking about repurposing that building. It's currently used for precinct.
No, I mean, where's that, the red one you said that's gonna be relocated, the red one that's gonna be relocated, where is it going?
Right there,
Right
right
there.
that's the division.
So this is the one that is currently at the
Yeah.
SLC future site,
It's
and we're bringing it here.
There's
Oh.
nothing
To this
there
side.
right now.
Okay, so there's nothing there right now.
Correct.
No,
Got it,
the only two that are existing are these two.
got it,
Thank you.
okay, that clarifies.
So the only cost,
Pictures in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
the only relocation cost is for that building, which is about $13,000 plus another $2,000 for supervision.
Okay.
So you're looking at about $15,000 total for relocation. What this cost does not include, because we're looking at only lease versus purchase, is the cost to do utilities, underground utilities. But since we have sewer and all the utilities right next to the other restroom, it'll be a very short distance to connect to.
So in essence, the payback here is about 3.5 years.
Correct. And another thing to keep in mind, this would be our third 2-year lease renewal. So the sooner we can get these purchased and free up $157,000 that you may be using, putting back into your SLC Futures program, I think that would free up general fund to be able to, because honestly, it's a waste of money that we keep leasing these portables. And it'll give us flexibility as we move forward in the event that we ever have to, the program shifts, there's a change. We own those buildings and we can easily relocate them to other sites where we might need restrooms.
What you really feel about whether it's a waste of money. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to point out one thing too, is that you have the question, and I'm just responding to Neil's question about preschool. We are seeing a reduction in preschool numbers expected because of the TK scenarios. I just want to re-put that out in the world sort of. Yeah, so we are, there's been a gradual move, a gradual move, reduction, thank you. Well, no, a gradual move to put 4-year-old into TK, where all 4-year-olds will be there by what year are we in? 24, 25? So 26, 27 is the first year that is completely open to all 4-year-olds. A big part of our program at preschool was 4-year-olds up until, and as that transitions to TK, the numbers are gonna just be much less. And we are seeing less interest because more 4-year-olds are going into TK. So that basically that building that where SLC Futures is, will be SLC Futures, and we'll utilize the 4 classrooms that we use on that site to outfit the preschool program. So it'll just be, we're downsizing essentially.
So one of the questions I'd ask had to do with financing. Yes, this makes perfect sense long-term, but $500,000 is not an immaterial hit to our budget that has opportunity costs affiliated with it. Is there any other way to finance this or do anything because we're not using EE to pay for $150,000 every year. But here we would be taking $500,000 out of EE to finance this. Yes, long-term, it's obviously a good choice. Short-term, I have some hesitation because of the opportunity cost and limited funds to build with this money.
Can we go to the next slide?
This budget with the.
Yeah, well, yeah, excellent. So One of the things,
Can.
within the SLC, service agreement, we do have a facility fee. And I want to say it's about $12 per square foot. There's a calculation to it. And so we could, over time, recoup that cost. And yes, right now we have 3 districts, and then we would, that we would invoice as part of that. They are paying for a portion in that expense of that lease. For instance, like the lease now is about $19.50 per month, about $23,000 per year. And so we can keep that ongoing, as we utilize this building for SLC. But is it gonna pay the $470,000, $470,000?
What about a crazy idea? I don't know if we can even do this, but using a tran at point something % interest to get this money and not touch EE funds? Is that possible?
Or
Can't do it?
why can't we use bond funds and then pay it back?
We could do
If
that.
the payback's 3.5 years.
We could do that.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay, just trying to, go ahead.
So no, so I was
Your point
saying-
is well said.
Yeah.
We should fund it back.
Right, so I was gonna, so whereas we can't use a tran for this particular item, we could use bond funds, pay it, and then we would just use we'd pay the same 120,000 a year basically back to ourselves.
Love that.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
So,
You got 3 votes right there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Since you do that, I just wanna make sure that, are you good with that? I'm just kidding.
personally love that option,
Alright.
because that frees up
I
another
think it's-
500,000 for the bond.
In 3 years. Yeah.
Right.
You want to do it like that?
I like it. Thank you.
With the general fund paying for this.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You have
if
to
we
make
can
those
just
payments
continue-
anyway. Reimburse
Continue to
bond.
pay ourselves that amount of money, we're just refunding,
Right.
we're not changing our budget from the
Right.
past.
Right.
Model the same.
We're using this, I love that idea,
We do too.
thank you.
So just a little analysis of option 1, it's a 2-year lease. If we get through the 2 years, what do we do? We're gonna renew a 2-year lease. If we did renew it, the total cost would be about over 4 years, it'd be $616,000. So long-term, it's not really fiscally.
This is a
prudent.
no-brainer.
Yeah, so I don't really need to,
I think it's-
good, I'm gonna go to the next slide then.
Go to the next.
Okay, so this is my recommendation, our recommendation is just, we're gonna do the purchase and go forward with the purchase. And I don't need to go too much into it, but I did mention the cost will be, some of the costs could be passed to the participating districts via the facility fee articulated within the participation agreements. So,
So I think the thing that we just talked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
would be an
exactly.
amendment to this, which is that we continue to encumber the general fund for
To reimburse
over-
the
to
measure.
reimburse over like 3 years or something.
It's like 3.5
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
I just do want to point out I appreciate on option 2 here, when you look back, there is going to be some cost of business, once we do move this. There are going to be some upgrades that we may have to do to some of these. So I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that's factored into this, right? So we're still going to have to go through and do there'll be more money to be spent on this.
There's no other cost except the location of the restaurant. That's what I heard publicly.
You heard utilities.
Publicly, I'm telling the board, there will be more costs.
And there is the improvements, whatever
Right.
improvements are necessary to
Correct.
those spaces.
And just to say, a couple of the things that we're gonna have to look at is, there's some life skills that are part of the futures program, so we're gonna have to look at outfitting that, to have washer, dryer, some other area, some other items,
And
as
we
well
may be
as
able
an
to
outdoor
relocate
space.
Some of the
Perhaps,
equipment.
so perhaps some infrastructure upgrades may be required that we may not necessarily know.
Exactly.
But to me, this is just such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
After 4 years of continuing to uncover the budget for the exact same amount,
Right.
we will more than pay for this
Correct.
investment. And our need for these will far exceed 4 years.
Right.
And the lifespan of the utility of these will far exceed 4 years. So
I mean, the
Yeah.
program is gonna be here for the next 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing too, though, about a modular of this nature is that you actually could, this provides some flexible facility space, and we need flexible facility space right now. I'm saying worst case scenario, the program isn't there, 3 years from now, 4 years. Not saying it is, I'm just saying, we now have flexible facility space, and we are using, we're using every corner of every piece of our district. And so just having this, this is helpful.
there's one corner, Wendy's sitting there.
Right, Wendy's sitting there.
All right, thank you.
Comment, in terms of this option 2, which I'm in favor of the purchase, I think we all are, I think it makes financial sense to do that. one thing to consider is that if we did not have a facilities project, we would not be relocating these buildings,
Correct.
right? So this is 100% a legitimate bond measure
Absolutely.
expenditure.
Right.
If we utilize Measure EE funds, which we can because it's a direct cause and effect, I would be in support of utilizing the bond funds, because if we utilize general fund money is not tied to facilities. In essence, we would be freeing up $470 or $157,000 for the payback,
Right.
payback of these items. And I just made a big request, and we all agreed, of our teachers and administration for mathematics. We may have just found
Right.
$400,000 to fund that
Couple years.
initiative.
You're
So-
taking those 500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
That was short-lived.
My preference would be to, since it's a direct expenditure of a bond project, is to pay for it from Measure EE and fund our mathematics initiative. And that's balancing out our overall responsibility of the district with regards to facilities and programs and instruction for our kids. I would rather not take away or reassign, if you will, monies that we can use for another initiative that I know we're gonna be looking for.
Yeah.
And that's partly why we presented it as in that manner, because we figured you would like the idea of freeing up money
Right.
to put back into a program
Right, and general-
versus reimbursing the bond, because it is an allowable expense. like you
And
said,
general
Ross.
fund monies are at the board discretion. We could, in 2 years or whatever timeframe, opt to pay that bond back. Right? If we so choose to, my preference would be to not do that and give us that flexibility to fund those other initiatives. Because right now, based on the presentation we had and the forecast of the budget in the future, it's not looking all that rosy, right? Yet we still have to fund our math initiative.
Yeah, this is an opportunity as well, to free up some of our general fund, cost, expenditures, to be able to free up money, in our general fund by using the bond funds for this for a reasonable cause. We have to move these portables have to go. And so that there is that cost, and we need them still, right? So they have to go from where they are, and we need them for housing because we're displacing a program because of a bond project. So I personally appreciate that comment. I would recommend that we do keep our general fund pretty clean of this. Although we take the direction of the board.
My thoughts would be to take all this under advisement and give us a recommendation that's well thought.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, either way, you're gonna need money somewhere, right? So.
That we don't use it.
General fund gives
But I
you.
think we're approving.
This is, let me just make one last comment. This is easy to say until we need $500,000 in
Exactly.
round D for that last item that we don't have. So this is not an easy decision. I don't want to take money away from math, but I don't want an unfinished building that we committed to for our community. So put that all into the equation.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to purchase, and I think we can, I think Roger brings up a good comment. I think we need to probably just explore that.
We can report that every year too with our financial reports. We can say, this money was that we freed up this much money from our general fund because of our purchase, so we can keep illustrating it because we're not gonna have that answer tomorrow.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
This is a long game for us.
The
and so we
motion
need to
on
make
the
sure.
table is to purchase the
Instead of leasing, I think
the
we're all in
purchase,
agreement.
but it says to purchase it from
Correct.
Fund 21, Measure EE
Right.
funds.
Right.
So we all sound like we're in
I
agreement.
think we're in
on
agreement with that.
piece. This other thing is sort of.
Seconds.
I have a motion from Rebecca and a second from Neil.
Okay.
And I'm good with that, and I think, like you said, we can certainly explore that and.
That's the back end. This is
Yeah,
the
back
part of the budget.
Exactly. All right, do I have a motion? I think do I have a vote, not a motion, do I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next item, 12.2, bid number 2024-06. This is the roof replacement at Del Air. Glad to see this here. And this is the award to best contracting services. Do I have a motion?
You have a motion with a comment?
Thank you, Neil. Second.
Second?
Thank you, Roger. And comments?
This was just the comment I made earlier about the conversation with Noeme about the cost of this, which is just nearly offensive. And still, hundreds of $1,000s below our budget. 200,000. So, $1.6 million to build a roof is what it takes with DSA. What, sorry?
It's a lot of buildings.
Yeah, a lot of buildings, but that's a lot of money, but it is below our budget and, appreciate that very much.
And, good, we got, I think I saw like 17, it was 17 contractors that showed up or something like that. So got quite a bit of interest. I know 13, so quite a bit of interest,
You
which
can
is
make
great.
$1 million putting on a roof, wouldn't you show up?
Yeah, so great. Thank you, excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. 12.3, approve amendment to agreement number 2 with Corrigan to provide additional structural design services for the Holly Glen Elementary School. And this is for the TK conversion project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Any comments or questions?
It hurts that this project continues to balloon in costs.
To your point.
So I just feel like I had to say that because this
Yeah.
is supposed to be simple solution kind of thing. So just want to, I think, acknowledge for everybody that we know that this is not what we had been hoping when we embarked on this. But I think it's necessary. I mean, as we talked, I think we talked a little bit today about, how enrollment is changing and that we do have this need for more TK classrooms, especially like next year. I think we're talking about like adding yet another classroom of students. So incredibly important that we're doing this, and it still hurts that it's continuing to.
I agree. Just keep in mind that it's still about 2.5 to almost $3 million below the facilities master plan budget, which was to construct a new building. So yes, it hurts. I agree 100%, because we're trying to keep costs down, but we're still way below the estimated facilities master plan budget.
And I'm looking forward to like moving on to other school sites too.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
innovation.
Yeah, and I would say too, though, I wanna add, we did have a chance to talk, Noemi and I today. There's gonna be other costs that we'll have to bring back to the board as well as we do this TK conversion. I mean, obviously, the facility is one in getting the facilities right, but there's also gonna be an increase in playground. TK playground, there's a little TK playground that there's a structure, yeah. So we're looking at options for that. We also are going to, we're exploring and likely, the plan is to put doors on the back of 2 of the that are TK rooms in the Cabrillo, so that the TK is all in a centralized place. People can communicate, teachers can see teachers, kids can see their friends, they're all congregating in that middle, which has really been largely unused. And so we're sort of, I don't know if you call it refurbishing or repurposing this whole area to be the TK area. So there'll be more costs, a lot less than building, but just more cost we'll bring to the board too.
Like I said, I think it's needed. I'm glad that we're doing it.
Yeah.
And thank you for the reminder about what we originally projected in terms of, constructing an entire new building that we're still, under that cost.
We are.
But,
No, as long as you're standing there, can you remind us when round B or the second tranche is supposed to? fund?
June 2025.
25. So nothing to concern ourselves with this year. Right? Too bad. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item, fiscal, receive the audit report.
you want to take a vote?
I have 4-0. I thought we voted on it. Didn't we vote on it?
On the other.
Wendy, we did vote on it, didn't
Okay,
we?
sorry.
All in favor?
I missed it. Not a great answer.
Being too nice the other day, I'm just saying.
Fiscal item 13.1, the receiving the audit report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Neil, second.
Second.
Rebecca, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Kudos to the team.
Yeah, thank you. 13.2, adopt the resolution number 23/24.18, reissuance of the stale. It's not supposed to be state, is it? Stale. Stale dated warrants. I think it says state on there, right?
No, it says stale.
13.2.
We do this every year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. 13.3, approve increase in district-wide mileage rate for employees, quite an increase. Do I have a motion?
A motion and a question.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Roger.
Okay, Roger then. Thank
Just
you,
a
Roger.
question. This is just, I think I asked this last time, but just for clarity, this is simply aligning us to current IRS standards.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
So this is just,
One other question, I think it's a typo, it says on December 29th, 2022, was it December 29th, 2023? That the IRS increased the mileage?
Should have been 2020, December, it should have been 23, sorry.
Okay. Or just for the agenda.
we should amend that.
Yeah. So,
Three where it says public content,
Yeah,
it says
it's
December
on the
29th, 2022.
with the motion and second to reflect that, change, and then, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And just for clarity, that was with the, yeah. All right, next item, personnel 14.1, approve amendment to contract for the assistant superintendents. Again, this is in line with certificated staff, employees that we took action before.
You have a motion.
And this is specific to health and welfare. This isn't salary, this is
Thank
health
you.
and welfare.
Yeah, thank you for that clarity, Blake. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Roger. All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Blake, upcoming dates and events.
Right. Kindness Week, no, a lot we were able to highlight here. But we do have a craft night in here in February at Del Air. We also have Restaurant Week at Holly Glen. And just a reminder that our next board meeting, which was scheduled originally for February 8th, is February 6th. That's our next regularly scheduled board meeting, but we have a special meeting on Monday. It's going to be a barn burner. We have 11 interviews start and then more after that. So so that's it. Those are big dates.
With that?
15 interviews.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
11 plus final.
Minimum, right?
That's it, Blake?
We're good? Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
that concludes it. 8:06. Way to start the new year, guys, right? 6 p.m. Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes.
We dispense with all, just yes at that point. Yeah.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.